This week was the ninth anniversary of CM Punk's Pipe Bomb. Obviously, one of the more famous promo segments in the history of the business. Um, and there was a great, I think it's some Bleacher Report WWE, or it could have been from Fox Sports, where you had to pick three great promos to keep, and the rest went away. But before we did that, I want to talk about like did the pipe bomb, because I saw people debating this on Twitter. Did the pipe bomb really change anything? Like it's a legendary promo. We all remember Punk sitting there in the Stone Cold shirt and High Colt Cabana and all of that. Um, but you know, 9 years later, how much did it change? Now, I can argue that without CM Punk, without maybe the pipe bomb, I don't know if we get Daniel Bryan world champion Yeselmania. Um, I don't know if the change to the smaller guy, so to speak, as a leading candidate in the WWE happens. I don't know if AJ Styles necessarily ends up to the WWE without CM Punk. It could have, but you could maybe look to that moment and Punk, kind of, rising to power, for lack of a better word, within the WWE, rising to popularity. I think change it, but like, I think it's hard to say how much one promo really changed the business. Like, obviously Austin 316 is one that probably changed the business. But how much do you guys think that the pipe bomb changed the business or the WWE?
I think you can argue that it changed the trajectory of the CM Punk character and where he was going within the WWE. Um, I think it solidified the mentality of CM Punk as kind of the voice of the voiceless. I think you can use that argument though, Jim, for most of the promos that were on the graphic that was shared. And just off the top of my head, oh boy,
Well, we'll
what
we'll
was
we'll,
it?
dis- we'll,
Hard
we'll
times
discuss
was
those. Yeah.
okay. I just don't know how many of them really changed the trajectory of professional wrestling, not just the wrestler involved. You can even argue that the CM, or I'm sorry, that the Austin one that you brought up really just changed Austin's trajectory, and then Austin made all of those changes. So, how much does one promo
Which, that's
talkie
fair.
segment really change wrestling?
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pipe bomb was kind of that official, like, pulling back of the curtain, for wrestling fans. So yeah, I mean, Ryan's right. It certainly changed a lot for CM Punk, but I think it gave the fans a little bit more power too, in terms of how they were able to impact shows, not just simply with the CM Punk chants in exchange of like the boring chants, but just to give the fans the wherewithal that we are able to impact the show at all. I mean, because you know Vince may deny it, but I mean the whole Yeselmania is like very largely crowd driven, just
Oh
because
yeah.
of the whole Occupy Raw segment. And I mean, just I think if CM Punk doesn't make that promo, it doesn't linger as much with Vince, to the extent that, a couple years later, when, he has this golden goose in Daniel Bryan, that he doesn't like embrace that finally, after like fighting it for so long. Because, Vince, if nothing else, is a real stickler for, well, I know better than everyone. And in the past, he certainly did, but I think Punk's promo was a wake up call that, like, hey, times are changing.
Yeah, and I Charlie here says without the pipe bomb, I don't think you get guys like Bryan, Rollins, Styles, KO, Kofi to the level that they are, or in some cases they might not even make it to the WWE in the main roster. Um, he said I think that promo showed you don't have to be body guys like Cena or Roman. Tim says, could it be Austin changed the business, then it started going back, and then Punk rejuvenated a different aspect of it again? Yeah, I think that's it, and maybe that was part of the reason Punk wore an Austin shirt that night. I don't, to kind of have that feel to it of, I'm going to be in control of the show instead of Vince is going to be in control of the show. Where the fans are going to be in control of the show as opposed to the WWE telling us what the show's going to be. And at times, look at, and I think social media has played into that as well. But at times, it's kind of bit the WWE in the ass, and not just pointing the fingers at Roman Reigns, but we've seen backlash for. For the pushes of Roman Reigns and to an extent Charlotte Flair, and there's different people who have gotten pushes over time. I'm not saying they're not worthy of them. Roman Reigns is great in the ring. Charlotte Flair's arguably one of the best female wrestlers of all time. But when you give people the option to have their voice be heard. And obviously when the McMahons and Triple H stand in the ring and, you're the commissioner, we're not the commissioner, that'll come back and bite you too. But
I mean, to that extent, I think that's even more telling because throughout the whole Yes movement thing, they tried to just downplay the impact the fans had. They pointed out like how fickle fans can be as well, and how we will latch on to something. I think they used the Fandango as the key exhibit A in terms of everyone loved doing the whole like finger dance to Fandango. But when he went away, no one was really like, oh.
I was. You jerk.
Don't be rude.
So I think that was them trying to say like, you don't have as much power as you think, and then the fans were like, no, with the certain wrestlers we do, and we
Sure.
will fight for the right ones. Daniel Bryan being case in point. I think the most over wrestler we've seen since Stone Cold is Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, I think there was finally a show once Daniel Bryan came back that we were able to be part of a yes chant, because I know right after he won the titles was when his there was a show that we went to and his dad had passed away, and from a fan standpoint, obviously separating it's horrible but it was like, we were this yes movement was finally at like this pinnacle. He's finally like won the title, and we're going to be part of this live crowd. And then it's like, oh man, so like, and I obviously couldn't be happier that Daniel Bryan was able to come back from his injuries, and like now he's, the yes movement was a thing again. And yeah, it's I think it did have an impact on on what the business was and where it went, especially in the WWE. Nikki says she just recently forgave CM Punk for leaving. I was kind of one of those people too. Like I was, over the history of this, over the history of this show, like, I regularly was like, because it was, I thought it was a shitty thing, but everybody's kind of.
I think this is the first time I heard you call him CM Punk. You usually call him Phil.
I usually call him Phil from Chicago. Phil from Chicago, first time, long time. But yeah, no, I mean, he's kind of mildly back in the fold a little bit on the show that got canceled, but or at least changed. I guess that like they're hoping to still do some backstages around like big pay-per-view weekends.